So Congress spending the last 3+ years trying to get to the bottom of what happened on the night of September 11th, 2012. And now we would like to take you back to Benghazi as our Greg Palkot gives us a reporter's notebook on how that deadly terror attack unfolded, with firsthand accounts from those on the ground, plus a look at the mistakes made before, during, and after the attack. Let's go to Greg. He's live right now in London. Greg.
John, for the past couple hours, we've been hearing a lot of talk about the threat in Libya, in Benghazi in 2012, and the security or lack thereof. A couple weeks after the attack, as you noted, we were in Benghazi. We were in the compound. We got some firsthand impressions. Probably the best account of the attack, and according to this man, it was an attack, came from a neighbor who we talked to exclusively. He told us in detail about a mob coming down the street. He heard them chanting. He saw them dressed in the gear of the Islamist militia there. And then he described nothing short of a full frontal assault, flanking the sides of the compound, easily dealing with the first line of guards. Our own impression, John, of the security there, pretty weak. We saw a half-finished building across the street we would later learn was used as surveillance for the attackers. We saw a relatively low and a scalable wall around the place, a sheet metal gate with a single lock easily knocked down. And granted, it was after the fact, and I would like to say and brag that it was very difficult to get in there, but no, it was very easy to get in there. We, too, had the run of the place. What did it look like inside the compound? Now, again, a hypothetical. If there was a very strong defense guarding the 4 Americans inside, you would have expected to see a lot of damage, a lot of bullet holes outside, damage from RPGs, whatever. But on the grounds, it was pretty pristine. The walls of the buildings were intact. There were a few shell casings around. Possibly you could derive from that there just wasn't enough of a defense. Inside the buildings, there was another story. This mob, John, knew what it wanted. It went for it. Inside the main building, there was just the charred remains of that devastating fire that we've seen video of. Every room was ransacked. It was really a scene of death. And again, while this is after the fact, there was very little security. We got into all the buildings we wanted to get into. Most importantly, John, what seemed like a command center for the mission there. And we saw private diaries, we saw maps, we saw notes, we saw memos from Ambassador Stevens and from the rest of the staff. It gave us the clearest first-hand indication that there were worries about an attack, they were plotting about an attack, and they were concerned that they weren't prepared for it. Finally, John, there was our revealing interview off camera with a fellow named Ahmed Abu Khattala. He was an Islamist militia leader named by the U.S. as one of the ringleaders, revealing not necessarily because of what he told us. Most of the stuff was pretty standard anti-U.S. rhetoric. He showed no remorse for the death of the 4 Americans. He claimed, yes, he was there, but that he was only directing traffic and he was just helping the injured. What was revealing was the ease with which we got that interview. Again, I'd like to say it was hard to get him. It was easy. We called, we waited an hour, we talked to him poolside of the hotel. Remember, this is the fellow it took a full 2 years for the U.S. government to decide, hey, he's somebody we should snatch, and he was the target of a high-stakes mission by Special Forces into Libya in 2014. I guess to sum up, John, I would say, yeah, it was dangerous then in 2012. It is very dangerous now in 2015. It was a horrible incident. It could have been avoided, and the follow-up certainly could have been handled better as well. Back to you.
A couple of quick questions. When you were, looking at what was left of our diplomatic compound there, did you have security with you?
We did. We are always watching over our shoulder for this, but even at that time, there was a bit of a lull, and we decided that it was an opportunity that we could get in. But yeah, it was dangerous then, just like it's dangerous most times then.
And presumably, if you were able to get all of that information that you saw on the ground there, I mean, the State Department security people or the FBI or somebody else could have gone in there and done the same.
Yeah, presumably there was. We saw signs that the FBI were there, but we also saw signs that a lot of evidence, a lot of clues were left there, probably should have been taken away for a closer examination.
Greg Palkot. Greg, great work. Thank you.